Hey, welcome everybody. Chiropractors, TBA fam, Spartans, ready to go to ElevateCon. I'm super pumped to be able to be joined by one of our keynote speakers, my good friend Tyler Graves today, president and founder of Ready Stays. And one thing about Tyler that I've known is that as I introduce him to our webinar, and you guys are all tuning in right now, me and Tyler grew up together. We went to the same school together. We went to the same trips together, and we've been great friends. And to see him accelerate his company from a startup just 5 years ago, and then within about 4.5 to 5 years, build it into a $10 million a year company with a healthy profit margin while he's moving into phase two has been one of the most impressive things that I have seen. And of course, all of us here watching today now will be joining us April 24th to 26th at ElevateCon can learn a lot of how you scale a company up that fast without doing fundraising, without investors, and without any extra money from the outside, but building it from scratch and self-sustaining, building revenue, building the company, and building its own capital. So super pumped to have my good friend Tyler Graves on, one of our keynote speakers for ElevateCon. Tyler, thanks for taking a few minutes to join the webinar today.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here. Thanks, Ethan.
So 0 to 10 million in revenue, and it's not like you're, going broke every single month, and it's you're overextended and leveraging this huge business. I mean, You've been able to build a relatively capital flush, cash flow driven company and scale across the country. Maybe you can tell us a bit about your business quickly, and then how you grew that fast and as sustainably as you have.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we started here in the Tampa Bay area. I know where both of our offices are based here, and we we have grown nationally since then. But the business was really started around, we do property, we do corporate rentals, so furnished housing, month-to-month housing, which would be very different than, say, a vacation rental. We're not doing the nightly Airbnb stuff, and we're not doing your long-term unfurnished 12-month leases. We live between those worlds, and I think that the selling factor with our business and our the product that we offer is that it's flexible housing. So a lot of people, if they're on projects or if they're between buying and selling a home, or they're companies relocating them, they need somewhere they can be flexible, that's comfortable, that's like a home rather than a stuffy hotel for a couple of months at a time. We do a lot of insurance, so people get displaced. We had storms here last year. People get displaced. They need somewhere to stay while their home's being repaired. It's not livable, so we provide temporary housing that's also very flexible, because again, timelines for restoration is not always exact, right? So sometimes they have to kind of go month to month while their home is being repaired, so they can move back into their home eventually. So that's a lot of our kind of clientele, to give people sort of the picture.
And then the company started within the greater Tampa area, but
Correct.
Then you scaled out nationally as well. So no small feat regarding scaling your business outside of the state.
Yeah, and we've leveraged our local, I would say, our local reputation and our brand in creating relationships nationally. So we started with one rental, working with an owner, and then we grew that to working with more of apartments, and then that kind of organically grew. 1 became 2, 2 became 5, 5 became 10, and now we're kind of at a healthy, several dozen in this area that we always sort of have and are moving people into and out of, and then, like I said, leveraging relationships that we've built within this area for the demand, whether it's seasonal demand or just corporate demand, leveraging those relationships to more national, where we're actually partnering now with the same types of communities nationally on project-specific, or I should say location-specific projects and or needs in local markets, and we're partnering with owners and property managers in those areas. So that's how we've kind of allowed we bear the risk here, and then we extend ourselves in those relationships to more of a national presence. Yeah,
that's great. And then just for us, for the sake of scope, you started off with a handful of rentals, right? That you were able to start the business with as a startup, and then you've scaled it up to how many nationwide now?
I think right now we're at about 185 or 190 at any given time, and we have we always have people coming and going, and we move in and out of properties, but we're always trying to kind of keep that level. We're going for 200 within the next month or two, and then obviously we'll have to recalibrate and make the new goal 250 and 3. And that's the goal, is to obviously keep expanding, because our main metric, every company has kind of like that primary driven statistic. Our main one, of course, is volume of units, because obviously the more units, the more income, the more profitability, you would hope, et cetera. So That's always kind of the dance. But you know, like the typical entrepreneur story, right? You're starting yourself wearing every hat. And then, you know, the scalability comes from not doing every hat. And as you grow the volume, you then give and assign people those hats to wear, give them the training and whatever the tools that they need to then hold those positions while you continue to do what you would consider more high leverage activities that directly relate to growing the company.
That's awesome. So I think one of the things at ElevateCon, Tyler, is that I wanted to bring in people in the healthcare space that are doing $1 million a month, even, to help share their best practices with the attendees that are going to be with us. But also, I wanted to bring industry outsiders to show that you don't just because, say, Tyler Graves is in a different industry who's scaled up, the same principles of building a company and scaling a small business are the same to be successful, whether you're trying to get to $1 million a year or $1 million a month in revenue with a healthy profit margin while having flexibility in your life. The same principles apply. What would you say is, from your perspective, was the biggest mistake either you made or you avoided or that you see for entrepreneurs just going from trying to get past that $1 million a year mark? Maybe they're at 50 or 60,000 a month in revenue. They get to $1 million and they feel like they've made it, but it doesn't feel as glamorous as they thought, and they feel stuck at that point where they're kind of somewhat chained to their business and they're at that glass ceiling. They can't quite get past that $80,000 or $100,000 a month mark, and they feel like they're chained to their business.
It's funny because I feel like there's like levels to every sort of glass ceiling of growth, right? Because I can recall, years ago feeling like, oh my God, we're never going to get past 100,000 in revenue a month. I mean, that's just like impossible. The amount of activity and people coming and going and the billing and everything. And I feel like, at this time, I'm suffering that number to get to 200. It's like, okay, well, you start to get creative. And when you start to get creative and find solutions rather than, of course, bemoan all the labor and the hard work and the problems, then obviously you're looking more outward. I think that it's very easy to eat yourself alive and to stay kind of in the detail, but you always have to if you want to grow. Now, listen, I always say there's two types of businesses. There's lifestyle business, and then there's growth business. And if you want to be a lifestyle guy, that's fine. If you want to be able to take off, several weeks, several months a year, and you've got your little thing and you're not really in that growth engine, you just want that income, that is a choice. So I think defining the type of entrepreneur, type of business owner you are first is important, because I would argue that maybe 2 years ago, I hit a point where I felt like, okay, well, I'm meeting my personal income needs through this business. I could choose to sort of step back and we hire somebody to kind of replace those sales-driven functions that I'm doing and just kind of supervise, check on things. Hey, we'll have a meeting once a week with the GM, and that would be a lifestyle business. But I didn't choose that, just because my risk tolerance is higher and my ambitions and goals, personal goals, ambitions, and then our team's goals and ambitions are also high. And so it's the new target, it's the next game. And some people aren't like that. Some people are, further along in life. Some people have large families. They just want to be able to be around their families more rather than chained to a desk. And I think that both directions, both choices are perfectly acceptable. I think that it's a personal choice at the end of the day. So I think you as an entrepreneur, you as the owner of the business or founder, you need to decide which version do you want. Because if you want that lifestyle business, then create systems and processes around that. And just understand that you might not grow, or you might grow at a very slow rate of 2.5% to 5% a year. And maybe that's good for you. Maybe kind of keeping pace with inflation and, the general, economic growth is what you'd want. But then if you're this ambitious, driven guy, it's a different formula. It's a completely different formula. So I'm not sure if I've directly answered your question, but I feel like that is a preface to any direction this conversation goes.
I love that. That's great. I think we all can kind of marinate on that a little bit and decide which type of business we want to run. I think sometimes practice owners or business owners want to build a lifestyle business, but they're chaining themselves to their business inadvertently based on actions they're taking or inaction on other areas. Can you talk about how do you scale? I mean, I know we only have a few minutes here, but how do you scale from, again, 5 years to 10 million in revenue, blasting through those glass ceilings, while also, I know you're someone who loves to travel the world. I mean, you're going to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
This week, and you travel pretty much internationally with Allison, your lovely wife, every year. So obviously you have a certain sense of freedom. how did the importance on building systems and infrastructure in your small business allow you to grow faster? I think a lot of business owners think, writing policies and procedures and putting in systems and having the right people, it's a lot of legwork that doesn't make you any money right now, but it's made you a tremendous amount of income because of the effects it's created with your ability to grow. Can you talk about the importance for you of scaling to 10 million and how systems were a big part of that?
Yeah, I think there's a really, again, defining what is the important metric in your business, and for us, again, that is obviously occupancy is very important, but number of units. If we're going to focus on that as being the growth factor or the metric that we're primarily tracking, then what is the primary driver, the CEO, whatever you want to call that title, where is your primary focus lying? And is it going to be, if you're going to sit there and say, hey, we're going to create a bunch of processes and binders and we're going to get everybody this and that and have everything on beautiful shelves and use all the fancy apps to have, okay, well I'm not saying, discount that, but sales, the old adage of sales solves all. Fortunately, I love sales. I love working with people. I've been the primary driver for the first 3 or 4 years of the business. I was doing all of the sales. And so I scaled because I got myself completely out of the operations side. Now, operations is very important. It's the very thing that we deliver. So I in no way want to say, oh, I just do sales and forget operations. They'll figure things out. Obviously, it's the old cope and organize. You're like, okay, we've got an operations manager who's going to take care of that while I'm training this person, while I'm getting them, and we're learning by running up against walls and obstacles and oops, we forgot, and oh, let's add that to the checklist. And you kind of have to have that tolerance to kind of go through the crap of it while you're focusing on that primary driver, which is sales. And I think because I was the one that was primarily doing sales, it gave us flexibility to take risks, to take stabs at things. We've taken stabs at lots of things. We've dumped lots of money into marketing avenues, into advertising, into partnerships, into, hey, let's go down and let's pursue this market. And we've learned. And I don't know if you're like, I don't want to do sales, I'm just going to hire salespeople. I don't know sometimes you have enough meat on the bone to take those stabs. We're a fast moving business. We don't like to get stuck on one particular problem or thing. Let's keep this train moving, because at the end of the day, our focus is on that growth number. And anything that's going to kind of halt us from getting to that growth number is considered an obstacle to overcome. So I think if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, the solution to grow my business is to have all these beautiful manuals. Well, I don't know what kind of business that necessarily is. I mean, you've got to drive it. You've got to have sales. And that's how I did it. I know that it was the constant attention on sales, on occupancy, while working my ass off to get and keep this whole back machine running. We do 2 operations meetings a week. We're always refining. We're always finding out new stuff as we work with more, private owners and properties nationally. Oh my God, we didn't think about that. Oh my God, this was a thing. And it's like, we keep that engine moving, but then we're always, hammering away at sales. And so hiring people, we have 12 employees now, and we're hiring another person in about a week or 2. And those people are all almost entirely admin support that keep me. And now we have a sales team of 3 people that keep us, and we're hiring another one, focused on that goal. Sales should sell. Sales should be focusing on that growth, and operations deliver.
I think it's so great. It's such a great point. I think you can get over obsessed with binders and processes, right? But just like I've seen in your business, you have the necessary systems to ensure your operations team can do their job without you having to solve all their problems. Because if you get dragged into operations, which I see a lot of business owners getting dragged into it, solving the day-to-day fires, it takes their energy away from sales and marketing, but it also takes their attention off of it, and the business struggles. So one thing I've seen you do really well is you, over the first few years, rapidly and efficiently passed all of your operations hats to the right people. So the doers were doing the work, and the key managers knew how to manage the doers. So the work got done while you focused on the driver of key revenue. So, I mean, guys, ElevateCon is going to be big. Learning things like this, April 24th to 26th, from keynote speakers like Tyler, on how to think quickly, act quickly, don't dwell on the little things, and getting the business moving fast in marketing, sales, and revenue, but also having good systems to pass your operations hat and pass your technician's hat is going to be key. Tyler, ElevateCon is just a little under 2 months away. I mean, there's so much we're going to be covering, myself and you, at this conference, as well as our other keynote speakers. Why would you say that every practice owner should be at this event and invest in their professional growth, even if they have to fly in from across the country? Why they should invest in their professional growth to be a part of a conference like this?
I don't know. I think that it's kind of lonely. I think that sometimes, running a business, being the top guy, owning a business, being an entrepreneur can be kind of lonely. And I think if only for the interactions and bouncing ideas off each other. We have conferences that we attend in our industry every year. I love to talk to, other people in our space or people that do what we do or something similar. There's a je ne sais quoi to that. So yes, you're going to learn a lot. Yes, you're going to understand, you're going to come up with new ideas. But if you're just sitting there in the mire, in the muck, you're just that grind. Yeah, you can get there. But I've come up with so many creative ways by just bouncing an idea off of somebody that's in maybe even a competitor in our local market, maybe even a competitor in a market that we're looking to pursue. But I think that alone, it's like reading a book. When you read a book, if I were to tell you the book you finished last month, give me every detail about what you read, you'd go, well, my main takeaway was probably 2 or 3 things. And I think that you are looking for the gems. And I can't imagine in the course of a 2-day event, 3-day event, that you're not going to come away with some massive gems that are tailored in the way that you interpret them to your business. Yes, this is an event. It's for practice owners. It covers a multitude of things, but you are probably needing that one thing or that handful of things. And I do think that kind of getting the space to, open the door and be receptive to those things and bouncing ideas and hearing new ideas, something will click.
No doubt about that. Well, I can't wait to have you guys meet Tyler as one of our main keynotes at this year's ElevateCon. So if you haven't yet, register you and your entire team, get your tickets below, and we can't wait to have you guys join us and to have Tyler have you with us as part of our community and our tribe and ecosystem at ElevateCon. Tyler Graves, guys, ready stays from 0 to 10 million in 5 years. You're going to learn a ton about scaling your company. I can't wait to have him share more insights for everybody here. All right, until then, we'll see you guys. Tyler, thank you for your time, my friend. We'll see you then.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Take care.